hairbrush of hers and taken samples of hairs out of there, delivered them to the ESR laboratory. So the ESR, the laboratory, had access to a bag full of Olivia's hairs, investigated those hairs on the same day, on the same table as they did the bag of hairs from the blanket. And I mean, it's just crazy.
But there was also a hole in the bag, wasn't there?
And there was a hole in the bag that was could not be explained. It was pointed out in court.
So the ESR scientist suddenly found these blonde hairs in the sample where there'd been none before,
yes,
and the bag had a hole in it.
That's right.
A slit, an
That's
inch or
right.
so long.
That's a little slit, yes.
A little slit, okay.
Yeah, and she couldn't answer. She couldn't explain the slit.
Do you find that slit suspicious?
I find the whole issue of those hairs, every element that's involved in the story of the hairs, I find disturbing. Yeah. Very disturbing.
I guess it seems to me, I mean, there's mistakes, and and then there's more sinister explanations for
most of my responses to that are that by and large the responses are sinister. Yeah, yeah. And that arises because of the nature of the system we've got, this adversarial system we've got, where it's not, there's no one really cares too much about getting the truth. Yeah. One side's job is to get the guy off, the other side's job is to put him in prison. Yeah. Now, it's a fight, it's just like a boxing match. Yeah. And with a referee called the jury or a judge. Yeah. And you're a good lawyer if you do well at what you do, right, whether you're prosecuting. That's right. Now the performance of the prosecutors in this case is execrable. It has no integrity at all, nil integrity. Now, I've put this to the prosecutors themselves, I've put it to the Chief Justice, I've put it to the Minister, everyone. I've been outspoken in making public my view of the quality of integrity that those prosecutors brought to that case, and no one's done a thing about it. I mean, I think I've been pretty defamatory, but no one's... Actually, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, because your book makes some pretty strong criticisms of specific individuals in the police, in the judiciary. Have you had any reaction from that? I mean, what has the reaction been? Has anyone tried to sue you? No. Have you? What have they said? I mean, nothing. I mean, Rob Pope, who's Rob Pope's an interesting. Detective Inspector Pope. He ran the investigation. Yeah. He's a very interesting point to discuss, because I sent the book to him in the week that it was published. A few days later, he sent it back to me, and he made a notice that I haven't read this, but I'm sending it back because there's nothing new in it. He's psychic. Yep. Now, subsequently, the police supplied a copy of the book to the new independent police conduct authority, in whom I have some trust. And so they have been investigating the claims against Pope that are made in the book for some time now. And I believe that it won't be long before they come out with a result to their investigation. So the book basically has been taken by them to be a complaint itself against Pope. And I have some confidence that that will have an effect. But he's now the Deputy Commissioner. He is indeed, yeah, the number 2 policeman. Which it'll be a pretty serious blow to find against him in this case, because I mean, one thing that seemed to me clear from the book is that a lot of the issues that you've highlighted, like the turning away from reports about the catch, a lot of these things really happened when he took over the investigation and appeared to single out Scott Watson as his chief suspect, even though there appeared to be little evidence. There is no doubt he singled out Watson within 2 days of taking over the case. He took over about the 6th of January. By the 8th of January, he had put in an application to a judge for a search warrant for Watson's boat on the basis that he would find evidence of murder upon it. 2 days later. He never changed that view, and as far as I can see, he never ever had another suspect. He went for Watson. He changed the ketch into a sloop because Watson had a sloop and not a ketch. He changed the man who was untidily dressed and of a skinny, wiry build into a man who was a stocky, normal build. He's changed the man who had long shoulder-length hair into a man who was had no hair. It's quite bizarre. I mean, hearing you say this, it kind of does make sense if people haven't read the book, I suspect. But when you read the book, it's quite bizarre how someone who fitted one description that looked nothing like Scott Watson, that was the basis for convicting Scott Watson for murder. It's really quite bizarre. Right. Well, you see, one of the techniques that they used was Watson, of course, had hair about this long, and he was mostly bald. Very, very. His hairline was way back here. Now, the man that was described as having been last seen with Ben and Olivia was said to have hair down to his shoulders, medium length wavy hair down to his shoulders, and a fringe. Now, that does not describe Scott Watson, but when the witnesses were shown photographs of Watson taken a couple of weeks later, they were told, well, he's had a haircut.
Yeah, yeah. But there's photos of him on the night.
And photos of him on the night, short, hair this long.
That's right.
Totally distinct from the man that was described as the mystery man.
So, in terms of, I mean, reading the book, I was certainly convinced that there's been a miscarriage of justice in this case. But I still find it difficult to understand how a jury, given the evidence, was able to convict. Is this because the stuff in your book is matters that have come to light that weren't put to the jury, or was the jury hoodwinked, or how do you explain that?
The jury was hoodwinked. That's the problem with the system. Yeah. It depends on the integrity, the quality, the ability and the integrity of the prosecutors as to whether you're going to get an honest result, or whether the jury system will work if they're given the truth. If you mislead them, if you tell them things that are not true, if you distort the evidence, if you distort the argument, any of these things that go to the integrity of the prosecutors, any of those things happen and you can't trust the jury's decision. Now, in this case, very little that was put to them by the prosecutors had any integrity at all.
Yeah. So where to now in the case? I mean, for Scott Watson, can he appeal to the Privy Council? What is his legal options?
Look, the film I made, Murder on the Blade, was broadcast by TV1 in November 2003, it is now. A few days before that, Watson's appellate lawyer tried to get the Privy Council in England, in London, to hear an appeal. They refused to hear it. So he's not been able to put it before the Court of Appeal. All he's really got left is an appeal to the Governor-General, and that was put in by his father. A letter from Watson to be put to the Governor-General, along with my book and my film, which make up a petition for mercy, for a pardon under the Crimes Act. That's being, I imagine, discussed now in the Justice Department and by the Governor-General.
But of course, one of the problems is an appeal to the Governor-General is handled by the Ministry of Justice.
That's right.
In fact, Justice Thorpe, in his book or his report about miscarriages of justice, outlined that was unsatisfactory, and we need something like they have in the UK, the Criminal Appeals Review Office, or something like that.
The UK's had that since 1996 or thereabouts, and it's been extremely successful.
Yes.
But also, I think, to my mind, it shows something else about the maturity of the society that we have compared with the maturity of the society that's in England. Now, in England, they've faced up to it. They've said, we do make mistakes, let's get something going that's going to sort this out. So they set up an Office of Public Prosecution, or I forgot what it's called, and they've got it going, and they've had the Bournemouth 4 and the 6, they've brought them all out, they've sorted it out, honestly, openly in public, and they've done it. What do? We hide from it. We end with nothing. I think we're still an adolescent society, and I think it's one of the problems. We need to grow up. We need a bit of maturity that the society doesn't have.
Keith Hunter, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for your awesome work on this case and in other things as well. And good luck to you, and good luck to Scott Watson too.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. Okay. We'll be back shortly.